let's take you over to the admin area to get you set up. Click on the toolbox. On the far left, you'll find admin. Within admin, we're first going to focus on the service dispatch settings. Click into dispatch settings there. And on the very top here, you'll find a spot to plug in an email address of which all of your service dispatch emails will come from. These are emails that go off to your customer. These are emails that go off to your employees. Most companies come up with a service@joesroofing.com, or it can be your service manager. Whatever email address you enter into service dispatch and proposals from, dispatch emails will come from this address. Next, we have an opportunity to enter in up to 3 priorities of which we will offer service within. By default, it's scheduled, urgent, and emergency. Enter in the hourly rate per priority, as it will calculate automatically as the technician punches in and out of these tickets. For example, scheduled, we're charging $88 an hour. That's for 2 men that we have in a service truck. You have 3 priorities in which you can offer. When you title your priority, you need to enter in the time frame of which you would offer a response time or a targeted time of arrival, depending on how you want to word that or communicate that to your customers. And then keep in mind too that if in the future you decide to change these priorities, it will impact all past work orders that you have saved within the system. So if we come down a little bit further, the invoice contact drop-down will pull from a list of users, and whomever you select, their information will appear on the bottom of the invoices as they are generated through the system. Now, after you generate an invoice, the email screen will offer a default body as you send them through the system. You could set the default of what you want your email to say whenever you send an invoice. Some of these other options are invoicing related. Require customer ID number means your preference is that no invoices are to be generated or sent to a customer unless a customer ID number has been added to that company or directly through the invoice, which also updates that company. The customer ID number typically matches how you have it saved within your accounting system. Here is an option to prohibit the ability to backdate invoices. If you would prefer that there is no ability to go back and create an invoice for, let's say, last week, we would check this box. This is critical for companies that do nightly pushes over to accounting to ensure there is no duplication of any invoices. If you're 100% tax exempt, you would check yes, which means no one can accidentally put tax on an invoice to send it. So if you're 100% tax exempt, uncheck or ensure that this is not selected. Display technician names. This gives your service manager or whoever does invoicing the option to display on each invoice that they create the technician's names. If you do not want technician names to be displayed on any invoices, you would uncheck this box. Always show customer ID number. That would always show the customer ID number on the invoice that is sent to your clients. That would make it visible next to the invoice ID and any other custom invoice fields you have. Next, you have up to 2 custom invoice fields that you can record on every work order you create in the system. These are exportable and typically tied to your accounting system or in a manner that you would like to pull and do specific reporting based on how you use these fields. For example, van number. Every dispatch we create, we assign a van number so we can pull specific profitability reports. If it is a field that is always the same, you might choose a drop-down, and in that case, you populate the different options. It's important to note, if you choose job number, You need to spell job number exactly how it's shown here. Job space number sign. The reason why is that will export correctly, whether it's to Excel or Timberline or Computeries, etc. Your dispatch report export will dictate the format in which work orders are exported from the dispatch board. Standard is our regular export that comes out in Excel. Excel 2 is a more simplified version of that export that does not contain the custom invoice fields. So if it's very basic setup to where really you only require the invoice ID, you would then choose Excel 2 as your export type. QuickBooks exports out an IIF file that you can import directly into your desktop version of QuickBooks. Computeries, if selected, would require you to enter in your accounts receivable code, your sales account, and also create your invoice types to match how you have them saved or created within Computeries. Timberline also requires some setup where you will enter in your company code, indicate if you'd like to prefix the invoice ID, enter in the accounts receivable code, and also create invoice types with an assigned general ledger code. You'll also enter in the sales tax payable account number, alphanumeric. Another option we have is Foundations, which is a full Foundations export where you need to enter in your accounts receivable code and your sales tax payable account number. The last option we have currently is Other, which is also Foundations, but a simplified Foundations export that will bring out of the system the job number, the invoice number, and a rough breakdown on the invoices. Auto-generate report means you would like a nightly export of your selected file format, and in that case you would choose where you would like that file emailed to. You can also retrieve that download file from the previous night by clicking this link, and clicking the link will download that file based on the format you have selected within Dispatch Report Export. Be sure to update your changes if you've made any to save them. Now that we have the dispatch settings in place, it's now time to set up the materials library. Back to admin, so toolbox, or we can hit the back arrow. We need to set up the materials so we can properly invoice and so the technicians can report what was used on each of the jobs. Within Edit Default Material List, you will maintain your material library, which has the ability to set it up based on categories. Your categories might be EPDM, built-up roof, TPO, etc. You control that through the Edit Categories button, which is the first thing we recommend you set up. Click Add New Category to enter in a new category name. Once you have your categories set up, you can populate a CSV spreadsheet and do a mass import, of which you can then assign the materials to the appropriate categories. If you were to do an import, you want to be sure to line up your fields, which you can see through the Material Import button. The material import needs to be a CSV file in this order: material description, unit, sell price per unit, and actual cost per unit. Choose your file, and if you're set up on Enterprise, you can import your materials to a specific group if you have different pricing in different regions. So let's go back. Once your materials are imported, or you can add a material manually by clicking Add New Default Material. From here you can pick the different group. Again, if you're Enterprise, you can select the category that it belongs to and type in the material name, the unit, the sell price per unit, and the actual cost per unit. Alright, so let's go back, and at this point we can maintain this moving forward by editing the prices individually however often you need to, or if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, we can enter in a % markup that will apply to the base price of all materials in the system. Another way you can maintain this if your pricing changes frequently throughout the year is you can eliminate or erase your material library and re-import a fresh list. So now that our service dispatch settings are in place, our materials are loaded and set up in the system, we need to add our technicians as well as Service Manager. What we do is we click Add New User within User Administration. And we need to fill out the basic information. So this is Service Technician. So this is first and last name and email, phone number and extension. If they do not have an office number, we skip it. A title. A cell phone and provider is important. This technician will receive text alerts as work order tickets are assigned to them. Be sure to choose a cell provider or the text alerts will not go out. The zip code typically is the zip code of the region that this technician covers. As they will appear in that location on the service map, they can receive the tickets nearest their territory. Vehicle ID is optional. That would be the vehicle ID number from GPS Fleetmatics or GPS Insight. You can upload a headshot. You can upload a signature, or you can type out a signature. The headshot will be used on various reports in the system, like the service report. As the service report shows each technician's ranking, they will have an image on their profile card. If this technician will be sending emails through the system and doing follow-ups, we recommend they have a signature block as it will look professional. If this technician will log into the system and perform CRM functions, they will need to have a set amount of records to display per page. We recommend 200. This is the service dispatch results to display per page, but the technician most likely will not be using the dispatch board, so that doesn't matter. On the top right, most important, account is enabled. A service technician does not need to be an admin. You do not want to force the password change on next login. This person is not an independent rep. They should not have the ability to export information into Excel. They should not be on the sales activity report, as we will track their work primarily through the service report. They cannot edit ops or past OPM entries or edit the invoices within Service Dispatch. Now, being a service technician, in most cases, they are set as a user, not a manager. The difference is a user level will not be able to do their own pricing as they uncover repairs in the field. A user only has the ability to pull from the unit pricing you have built in to your deficiency library. A manager can, however, override that default price and enter their own. The technician does not need to be an account manager or an estimator or edit payroll or even replace a property aerial image. And a quick warning, be careful with giving service guys the ability to replace property aerial images, as it will often eliminate history that you've gathered for a property. They should call into the office or to your administrator if something is not right. They do need to be on the power board, or you will not be able to assign them a work order through the drag and drop power board. They do not need AIA, they do not need to flag companies as bad credit history or be on any other reports. So if we come down onto some of these other options, can log in at certain times would be a way to restrict access to the system. Perhaps maybe only during business hours is when you'd like them to log in. That's up to you. Most service technicians might work outside of normal business hours. On serviceman list is a requirement for anyone who will receive a dispatch work order through the system. They need to be on the serviceman list. Auto scheduling to do activities after completing an inspection is optional. If this technician will also be doing inspections in the system, it's helpful to get automatic activity reminders as you complete your inspections. Can only access mobile apps would prevent this person from being able to log in through the desktop version. That is up to you. Requiring inspection pre-approval or final approval, or both, is up to you as well. What that does is it makes it so the technician must go through the approval process before completing the inspection report. Requires service dispatch approval would mean they cannot leave the roof area until somebody approved their dispatch. And if you do use dispatch approval, be sure somebody will receive the dispatch approval alert down below here, so we're not making a technician stand on the roof for too long. They do not need to be able to approve any inspections, regardless of pre-approval or final approval. Next is your set of alerts. The technician does not need to get any inspection approval alerts or be notified system-wide if dispatches are created, or be able to approve other technicians' dispatches. There are a few alerts down here: inspection, meeting, and contact scheduled. If this technician is going to be doing any work like that, it's nice to be able to get an email or a text alert letting you know that something has been placed on your schedule. Technician does not need to have any of these alerts. For instance, when customer sends email through customer portal, or when any dispatch update gets emailed, they will by default receive dispatch update emails for tickets that they are assigned only. When emailing a service dispatch proposal from the app system-wide, they don't need that. It is up to you if you would like them to receive OPM emails and project start emails. Those are production jobs that occur within the system, and notifications are sent out daily. And then lastly, this is when quick bid is created. They do not need to get those company-wide. So to save these changes, we'll come back up to the top and we will click Update User. Now, a shortcut to being able to add these users at a quick pace would be to use what we call user profiles. And if we were to go back and edit that user, we can use this user profile shortcut. If we click it, it will erase the settings we have currently in there, and you can then choose a profile and then update, and it will auto select the system defaults. As you're setting up a service manager, the primary difference is going to be that the user level will be switched to manager, so they can approve pricing or assist the technicians in any way regarding capturing more problems in the field and stocking the shelves with deficiencies. Also, a service manager should be able to replace the property aerial image as the service manager or the admin should be responsible for being able to assist the technicians if they run into a dispatch that has a wrong image on it or one that needs to be updated for some reason or another. If we come down, the service manager should be set up to approve the dispatch approvals as they come in. They want to be sure to get the alerts. For instance, whenever these approvals come in. Alright, so some of these other alerts for a service manager, if they have a role within the inspection side of things, it can be set up to receive the inspection approvals as well as being able to approve for pre-inspections and find you. For service dispatch created, these are great emails, especially for a dispatch manager or a service manager to receive. These are system alerts that have a notification on the top of the screen that say whenever a new service call was created, an email alert that gets sent to them with a copy of who created the dispatch and a link to see that dispatch. Service dispatch approval, they would want to get the system alert, an email alert, and a text alert, at least in the beginning, to make sure we're not losing any time for tickets to get approved. Some of these other notifications, whenever an inspection is scheduled, a meeting is scheduled, or a phone call is scheduled, the service manager can get notified either via email or text or both. Coming down, a few optional alerts. When any service dispatch update gets emailed, they can be copied on that to stay in the loop with all of them that occur. When emailing a service dispatch proposal from the app, which is really the supporting documentation that a technician has the ability to email to a customer, the service manager should get notified on that. However, that's optional, and they can be kept in the loop for the production jobs that are going on if you would like them to. But we believe that they should get the quick bid created alert, which will deliver a copy of the repair bid to the service manager as it is being emailed from anyone in the company, from the service techs in the company. Alright, so those are the recommended settings for a service manager. However, you can select from the user profile service manager and use our defaults or as a baseline to fill out what's important, and then maybe you can customize it from there. If you have any specific questions on setting up a user, reach out. We'll be happy to help. So now that we got our users set up for service, let's set up the service tab and explain how the service tab impacts each and every work order created within the system. Within our contacts, let's locate the District 124 record. We'll search for the record, click on District 124. On the company level, we will see a tab called Service. And this is where we can keep service-related information that will automatically populate every work order created within School District 124. If there is a not to exceed that they have specified, we need to enter in that value under the not to exceed field. This value will show up on every dispatch we create to be sure we don't go over that amount. If we've negotiated any specific labor rates with this customer, we can enter that in within our matching labor rates that we have set within our service settings. Now, whatever values we plug in here will override our company defaults. We have a spot to add a physical contract if we prefer. We can also add contracts within the cloud storage within this customer. And we have various fields of which we can put in notes that are categorized in hours of operations, invoice requirements, check-in procedure, etc. Hours of operations are where we can enter in when they're open. from 9 to 5, only do service from 8 till 4 p.m. Payment terms, as well as terms and conditions, do a little bit more than act as a notes box. Payment terms will populate on the invoice, and terms and conditions will populate on proposals that we create for this customer. So if we have negotiated specific payment terms or terms and conditions for this customer, the system will use these fields instead of the company defaults. Invoice requirements is where we would put information on how it is we need to bill this customer. Check-in procedure might be check-in with Sandy. Check-out procedure might be check-out with Sandy. Let's fill some of this out. Hours of operations might be from 9 to 5 p.m. Central. We didn't negotiate any specific payment terms for this customer, but the invoice requirements, we want to make sure we always submit billing to District 124. So you don't have to use all of these fields, but if you learn anything that will help you better serve your customer, use these at your discretion. Okay, and I have one checkout procedure, which is be sure to close out with somebody on site, as management wants the signature to be captured on every service call. So be sure to click the update button on the top left whenever a change is made here. Now, you'll also notice there are 3 different categories within the Service tab. On the top right, there's a drop down that shows and toggles between the Service tab, which is what we're looking at, the Dispatch board, and also Service. The Dispatch board will show any work orders created underneath School District 124. It serves as a great resource. For example, you're on the phone with someone from District 124. You have quick access to the last times that you were out there. You'll also find a section called Service Profitability. This is where later we can understand if a relationship is profitable. Also note, the Service tab does carry down to the property level. And the difference is, if you enter in information on the property level Service tab, it will override anything entered in on the company level in the Service tab. You'll also notice on the property level, it defaults at the Dispatch board. And the reason why is if you're taking a call from a customer, you would search for the property, and immediately when clicking into the Service tab, you will see the past service calls that you have been on for this building. You still have the 3 different options on the property level: Service Profitability, the Service tab, and Dispatch board. Let's click into the Service tab. And on the property level, the Service tab has warranty information in addition to the same fields that we can capture on the company level. So once again, if we use the fields, the not to exceed, scheduled labor rate, same day labor rate, on the property level, it will override what we have in the company level. The Service tab will also show the warranty information as to if this building, or more specifically, any sections within this building are under warranty. We'll show you more about warranties later, and you'll notice the other fields are available that will match the company fields. So now let's talk about installing the mobile version on the technician's device. We'll show you Android first and then iOS. On Android devices, where we start is by going into the Google Play Store. And what we do is we search for Chrome. As Chrome pulls up and you do not have it, you need to install it, as this is where we will run the mobile version. If there is an update available, we recommend you update to the latest version of Chrome. This means that we're on the most current version of Google Chrome. Now we can open up Chrome and install the mobile version. Locating Google Chrome on the device, and go to fcscontrol.com. Through FCScontrol.com, we'll click Get into your core. And be sure to specify the mobile version. You will end up on this screen. Before we add this, which we will add this to our home screen, in turn create an app icon, we need to check a few Chrome settings to ensure we have no problems operating the mobile version. Selecting the settings on the top right or the menu, scroll down and click on Settings. Depending on the version of your Android device, yours may look a little different. Locate the device cookies and ensure that they are allowed. Next, be sure that pop-ups are not being blocked. Also, confirm that JavaScript is enabled. And lastly, make sure that location is set to allow. Now, by default, you won't see any options for FCS unless you have previously visited the mobile version on this device. When the FCS mobile version asks you if it is okay to use your location, be sure to select OK. When FCS asks if it's okay to use your photos or your library, be sure to hit OK to that as well. If you do not, you will not be able to run the program successfully. Once again, your settings may be rearranged based on the device that you're using. But what will be the same is within Chrome, you have settings and you need to locate the cookies, enable them, the pop-ups, allow them, and ensure that JavaScript is enabled. From here, click the settings one more time and select Add to Home Screen. You will note the FCS mobile version is now added as an icon on the home screen, and from here are now able to log in using our username and password. And you can even stay logged in so you don't have to type that in again. Let's set up the mobile version on iPhones and iPads. Prior to adding the FCS mobile application, we need to check a couple of settings to make sure we don't have any problems when using the mobile app. Making our way to the settings, which is the gear icon, we do want to be sure to be on the latest version of iOS. So if you have a software update, you can find that under the general software update and make sure we do the download. Alright, so we are doing the download here. Next, scroll down to where you see Safari, and the settings that we change will be in here. First thing we'll do is make sure that block pop-ups is turned off. Next, block cookies should be set to always allow. Go back. On the very bottom we have advanced. We just want to confirm that JavaScript is enabled. One other tip, if you were to click on passwords and autofill, just confirm that names and passwords is in fact turned on. What this does is it makes it so if you hit remember me wherever you put a username and password, it will in fact remember you. Now the goal is to set up any user who uses the FCS mobile app and make it so entering into the system is very simple. You click a button and you're automatically logged in. So now that we've touched our settings, we'll go back and we'll locate Safari. We do recommend using Safari on iOS devices, and although we're setting up an iPad, the settings are the same on an iPhone. Open Safari and go to FCScontrol.com. Click Get into your core. Be sure to get into the mobile login. Click on the link directly from your iPad or iPhone. Clicking on the link from your iPhone or iPad will bring you directly to this page. From here, we want to add to home screen. So on the top, we have a square with an arrow pointing out of it. On an iPhone, this button is on the bottom. If we tap on this, we can add to home screen. When you hit Add, it will create a shortcut with an app icon on your home screen. This is how you'll enter into the mobile version. An extra step that you can take is to drag off one of the options and to bring the mobile version onto the bottom dock. If we click into the mobile version, enter in the username and password, and select Stay Logged In. We recommend hitting Save Password, especially if the same user will always be using this device. So what we've done is we've successfully added the FCS mobile version to an iPad or iPhone.